to study, to upgrade yourself. Because any person who wants to do an online scholarship from this group or anywhere in the country, the government will pay for their studies. And I'll come to that in a moment. I want to talk about this scholarship program. So I'm now going to then ask, what are the qualifications of these people? Well, Mr. Norton, the qualification is that they're Guyanese. Now, they don't have to have any other qualification to get the jobs. What are the qualifications of people? That's what they wanted to find out on the program. If you have a chance, listen to it. They were very, very negative about this program. But they don't in opposition of the previous government for the following reasons. We said that the economic policies of the government were inimical to the interests of the country. They were not moving our country forward in those 5 years, and in fact, we were retrogressing. We're going backward. In the COVID period because of the shutdown. Luckily, because of the way we dealt with COVID, which was a truly strategy, keeping our country open, unlike so many other countries of the region, where they shut down everything and they lost jobs, they lost economic output. We in Guyana, we decided from the very first cabinet that we were to rebuild our capability to manage the COVID pandemic, but reopen the economy, which we did. And that put quite a few people back to work who were working and lost their jobs. Had we done the rules of the lockdown, many of those people would have still been out of jobs. So this is what the track record was. Here in Guyanese, it was particularly hard because of the policies of the last government. It is sugar belt. Many 7,000 workers were laid off in the 5 years. 7,000 workers. Now, Guyanese, a lot depends on sugar because sugar income serves the basis for the fishermen who supplies the sugar workers, the shopkeepers who also provide the goods and services to workers. If you take out a few $1 billion from the economy of Guyanese, because income, no wages because the workers are laid off. It doesn't affect only sugar workers. It affects the whole region. And we saw that happening right across the region. New Amsterdam, sales dropped, many people lost their jobs, etc. So the policy was not helpful to job creation. When taxes were introduced on electricity and water and machinery and equipment and food items, we thought that was counterproductive. And that is why it affected the economy. In those 5 years, forestry output fell by 50%. It means we're producing 50% less in the forestry sector than we were producing. Just throughout the whole period, you know, when the early period, Alcoa walked away from Bogwani and the bauxite industry. We had to work very hard to get a new investor. In the last government, towards the end, Russell walked away and we lost nearly 1,000 jobs in the bauxite industry because of that. So not just sugar belt, we lost jobs in the bauxite industry. When we went to Guyanese recently in those areas, they look like ghost town. We now have to find employment for people here. But because that must have affected New Amsterdam too, because the shipping logistics were all here in New Amsterdam, Holland, and all of the others were operating from these areas. So we lost quite a bit of jobs. It has been, as I said before, the pandemic, we could not do as much as we wish. We said in the 5 years, these 5 years, if we win the elections, when we campaign, we want to do 50,000 jobs. We can't do 50,000 jobs now. We have to do maybe 80 to 100,000 jobs because of the impact of the pandemic. And we have to do so across all regions. Now in Region 4, already there are labor shortages. If you find 500, 600, maybe 1,000 people here who need work, I can find that immediately in the private sector in Region 4. And Region 3 now, the same thing is happening because of what is taking place in the bauxite and the oil and gas sector. We're now shifting the operations across the river, and we're going to build the power plant at Wales that would supply the entire country with power. If we triple the installed capacity by 2024, that would allow us to cut power prices by 50%. That's generating momentum there. We have about 7 new international hotels that would start, like the Marriott now in Georgetown and those environments. 7 that are either starting or under construction. They will need over maybe 2,000 to 3,000 workers, permanent workers in these areas. So a lot of things are happening in 3 and 4. But in the other regions, in Berbice, in Region 2, in Region 5 and 6, in Region 10, Linden, Pokwongi, Aichuli, we can't get as many jobs now as we wish because the investors prefer to go to these 2 regions, 3 and 4. So we have to now work at trying to shift investments into the other regions. That is why we've laid out a plan here for these 2 regions, 5 and 6. Already we're shifting some of the oil and gas activities to this region. So in the area north of the bridge, you're going to see major investments there that will generate thousands of jobs. But that will take time. We now have to make sure that people have jobs until they can find better paying permanent jobs that they can earn much more. Right now we are mapping out in Palmyra right here to start to build a stadium like the one we built at Providence. So it's going to be 2 national stadiums in the country. And the reason we wanted to use the stadium as a growth pool, if you look at what happened in the stadium, the cricket stadium, well, the national stadium at Providence, it is just across the river from Region 3. We want to do this same thing in 6 and 5. And look at what's happening around the stadium. You have hotels being built, etc. We already have investors who will start maybe 2 new major hotels just here at Palmyra, new hospitals, a new shopping mall, new housing areas, so that it becomes a growth pool for this region too. And I don't want to today spend all my time talking about the planning process, how we're going to address all of these things, including in Berbice. We now just tended to move all of the utilities off the road from New Amsterdam all the way to Molson Creek, because we're going to widen the road right through, and that will cost over $100 million to upgrade the road in this region. A lot of infrastructural work is planned for the region, new hospitals, upgrading the New Amsterdam Hospital, building a major new hospital at Skeldon. These are infrastructure that you would learn about, and I expect you as young people to know about this, because that's where our country is going. So we've spent a number of years now, the last 2 years in the pandemic, to map out an entire plan for the future of this country. Now you hear a lot before I talk about oil and gas. So we have also, if you see, a couple of days ago I met the miners, and we made some promises to almost every sector in the economy, and we're busy fulfilling what we promised to the electorate when we went to the elections, because that's the kind of party that I belong to. Now, first of all, we promised we'd restore the children's grant. And it just shows the difference in philosophy. So, they had a 10,000 grant for every school child in 2014. The last government removed it, claiming they could not afford to pay it. When you look at the budget, you will see we could have afforded it in the 5 years, but the money was used more on things like, if you have an opportunity to, and I expect you to learn about these things, take the estimates that are presented of the budget that are presented every year to Parliament. You can get them, they're online. And look at one item called dietary. Dietary is like food in government. And look at the figure in 2014 and look at it in 2020. And see by how much it grew. How much more was put for food in government. Ministers and others living it up. It grew by over $1.6 billion. And look at how much it costs for the 10,000 grant for the school children. It costs about $1.6 billion that they removed, but could have increased dietary supplies by the same amount. And that is why it speaks about orientation, what you see as priority. So we now reintroduce that. The first budget that we've had, we reintroduced it. Today, it is now this year, it hasn't been paid out as yet. It has gone from 0 to 25,000 per child. So every school child will get $25,000 from the government. We've now extended it from public school to private children, those who are going to private schools. We have 170,000 children in public schools and 30,000 in private schools. So 200,000 children will now get that. We have now increased the school uniform grant from 2,000 to 5,000, so that's more than 100% increase. So the kids will get 30,000 this year, and we promise that it will go before, in the 5 years, before 2025, to 50,000 per child every year. So that we are busy fulfilling what we promised to the electorate. We take this seriously. I hope don't make too many children. I know many people are thinking, you young people, you don't want to do that. Although we need it in this country, because we have a vast country and we'll have labor shortages soon, the way we are going. But I see some people already thinking about that, you know. So we've been busy fulfilling the promises. Old age pension. We promised to double old age pension in the 5 years. So in the first 2 years, we've increased it already by 40%. And we keep that promise. We promised to make university education in the 5 years free, within the 5 years. And we will do it. We will do it because that's a promise we made. We didn't say we're going to do it in year one. We said within the 5 years with government, because we believe in making promises we can keep. APNU had promised, if you go to 2015, go and check online. You can still find it, the promises they made. They promised to double old age pension in 1 month. Double it. It wasn't even doubling the whole period in 5 years, but they promised to do it in 1 month. So we don't believe in making promises just for people to vote. We believe in actually fulfilling these promises. So that's going to happen. And then we promise also, in addition to making university education free, we said we want to do 20,000 scholarships, online scholarships. In the first year, we did 6,000. This year, another 5,000 students will have those scholarships. We've now even moved to have a remedial program put in place so those who don't qualify for the university level scholarship, say a diploma or a degree program or a technical program, they can then go back to school through a 3 to 6 months program, and that would allow them now to qualify and to do the university program. And that's what I expect all of you to do. But I can send the unit that is doing this. You know, the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Guyana, Professor Openair, we brought him back. He was left in that period under APNU. So we brought him back, and he's heading that program for us. So I expect all of you to look into it. So the promise was 20,000 scholarships. But I've been saying to people, if we find 50,000 people who want to study, the government will pay for this. And that is why we're not limiting ourselves to 20,000. And so everyone here in Berbice who wants to study and you're willing to do that to upgrade yourself, the government will stand by you and pay for it, as I said earlier, pay for the studies. So this is important, fulfilling promises. I can list all of the things. We removed the VAT on water, on electricity. We removed VAT on hinterland travel, on a lot of food items. We restore for the farmers, like in Region 5, the farmers saw their land and water charges move from $3,500 per acre per year to $15,000 in the MMA. They couldn't survive. We had to take it down back. So a lot of these things have happened. But we've also had, not everything has been smooth going since we got into office. Because first of all, we had to address the pandemic. The country, the world was shut down, and we had to deal with that. We couldn't only be working on our plans, but we had to make sure our people remain safe. And that's why I'm so pleased that our policy worked out. In Guyana, our per capita death is less than half of the United States of America from COVID. Although they had all the best vaccines in the world that they wouldn't sell to Guyana or the Caribbean or countries in Africa or Asia, they kept it all for themselves. We were busy hunting around the world to get vaccines for our people and to get to upgrade our capability. When we got into office, the COVID hospital didn't even have oxygen, a single bed. We managed to put that in place. We're doing 40 tests a day. When we got into office, we ramped it up today. We can do 5,000 tests per day. So our capability has grown enormously to manage the pandemic. So that was a setback. It slowed down a bit a lot of our plans because we had to be careful. For example, we couldn't bring people together like this here in any time in the last few years since we got into office because of the pandemic. But now we are suffering still from the consequences of the pandemic. You have seen an increase in the cost of living. So a lot of this is because in the countries where they had to shut down, like in China, the US, etc., the factories were also shut down. So if we buy all of our building material from China or the United States of America, there are global shortages of these things. So prices go up. Prices have gone up because the factories are now working. There's a food shortage now. If you turn on the TV, you'll see there is a big debate in the US that the president in the United States had to authorize his army to fly in baby food from Europe and other parts of the world because they have shortages in food in the United States of America, particularly baby food. The stores are empty, etc. That is why we in Guyana are fortunate because we, over the years, we're the only net food exporter in the Caribbean. We export more food than we consume. And we practically consume most of what we eat, produce most of what we eat. Now, wheat prices are skyrocketing. You would see recently the Ministry of Agriculture is doing some experiment to see if we can grow our own wheat in Guyana. Because the way the world is going, people will have money, but they won't be able to find food. As Prime Minister Mockley said from Barbados, if the boats can sail from Miami to the Caribbean for a couple of weeks, many of the Caribbean islands would run out of food. Luckily in Guyana, we'll still be able to do this. But we've seen an increase in the cost of living because of the pandemic, because of the war too. Fuel prices have skyrocketed. Oil prices moved from 28 US dollars per barrel of crude in 2015. Now it's nearly 120 US dollars, from 28 to 120 dollars per barrel of crude in this period. So it affects countries like ours too. And we have to now deal with the consequences of all of this. There was a 50% tax on fuel, we took it down to 0. When we met with the miners, we took away the VAT on lube oil. But there's very little else we can do because there's no taxes on these matters. So many of you would have seen that. That is still a consequence of the COVID pandemic, and we have to deal with it. So, I expect, as I said before, that people study these matters. Don't read. Our country operates a lot on the basis of what we hear, not what is the truth, on a lot of what we hear. We hear lots of things from the roadside, from each other. We love to spread a rumor. And in this whole process, we lose out a lot as a country at the pace at which we move forward. Because policies have to be grounded in facts. So you hear a lot about the oil and gas sector now. How much money Mr. Norton distributed a flyer in Linden saying we're sharing out oil and gas money in Berbice, and we're now giving the people in Linden who support APNO any money. Well, it's not true. It's absolutely not true. We have not, until 2 weeks ago, until 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did not transfer a single cent of the oil and gas money or utilize it in the budget until a couple of weeks ago. And they know this. Every cent that we collected from the time we started producing oil and gas has been in an account, saved in that account. Saved in that account. So it's not true that we've been spending all of this money. Secondly, there isn't a lot of money to give to everybody. So the opposition said, give every Guyanese $5,000 US a year. That's $1 million, so that sounds good, right? Everybody getting $1 million a year. So a lot of people say to me, we should get the money, why don't you do it? Why the PPP do that? But if you take 800,000 people and multiply by $5,000 a year, that gives you $4 billion US, right? So guess how much we've been collecting every year from the oil and gas sector so far? $350 million. So we will have to share out more than 12 times than what we collect. So it's like you collect $1 and you have to give out $12. That is the logic. It sounds good, but it's nonsense. Utter nonsense. Because it's designed to fool people. Oh, you can get free money, the government doesn't want to give you. Another group, if you listen to the Kaito news, they say we are so rich now, we must stop working. Our per capita GDP is $9,000. The US is $72,000. They work 3 jobs a day sometimes in the US. 3 different jobs people have. But we started producing oil, so we must all stop working, just wait for food to be delivered to us and everything else. This is the nonsense you hear misleading young people in the country. We will do well in the future. Our country will be one of the best countries in the world in terms of generating of wealth for our people, etc. But we have to work hard to get there. We have to have the right policies. It doesn't fall from the sky just like that. Anybody who tells you differently is just making a mockery of you. Anyone who tells you differently. You have to work to achieve things. And you can't be doing it on the basis of rumors and lies and all of this stuff. You have to do it on the basis of hard analysis. So I expect you to read multiple sources, make up your own minds, do the analysis as you become part of that important network that would allow us to move forward. So these are just some perspectives I wanted to share with you today. This program is an important program for our people, but it is not the end. It is a stepping stone to bigger things. And we are hoping that the 10 days that you work, this is not free money too. You're getting money from the government to work. You're working for the government now, so you have to have the attitude in those 10 days that you work, that you're there to serve people for the 10 days. You can't take an attitude into the workplace. Some people believe, the same things you complain sometimes about government. Government people don't listen now, they don't take care. Well, you now become part of the government apparatus. You're now working for government, so you have to make sure that in those 10 days you give your very best. We will utilize people to help, as they pointed out to you. If we can help get some of the people to help in a daycare, that's fine. So we can take better care of our children. Some can work in government offices. Some can work in the libraries if we have, so help to improve the services everywhere across the region. And so I hope that you are deployed well so that you can make the maximum effort in those 10 days you work. And that will give you the additional days to keep upgrading yourselves, to look for better jobs, etc. The income too, although it's not very high, it will help to offset some of the cost of living rise that we have. So I'm not going to speak for much longer because you have a registration process to complete today. I wish you all the best. I hope that you make full use of this opportunity and the other opportunities that are there. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. The last time when kids applied for the scholarship program, APNU was saying, don't apply, you're not going to get it. Well, 6,000 of them across the country now. In Region 4, almost 3,000 from Region 4 are now in the scholarship program. Don't let people, especially people who didn't provide a single scholarship to people excepted for the ministers themselves, tell you not to utilize opportunities. You use the opportunities provided to the maximum to improve your own lives. People often have political motives. They tell you, oh, this person is bad, this is good, etc. You judge for yourself. And who is filial to their plans and what their promises are. So good luck, and I look forward maybe after another 6 months to meet back with you to hear how things are going and see how we can improve the program. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Vice President. So our Vice President will now hear from you in terms of what ideas you have or if you have issues to raise with him. We'd be happy to hear from you. We have 2 mics in the crowd, so who's going to be the first person? Yes, sir.
Yeah, anyone, let's see. Okay, just take the microphone to people. Yeah. Okay, just give that guy here, he wants to hear something.
Honorable Vice President, Ministers, members of the police force, members of the press, respected politicians. The Vice President spoke some things that we are seeing, and you also were very honest in his speech. But I want to ask a question. I'm a qualified marine electrical engineer, which is internationally recognized. I have an international license. I'm also a professional electrical contractor in this country. But I find it hard because the big contractors are the ones who attend to it and they're getting the job. I resigned from EDO in 2020, June 23rd. But ever since then,
What's this EDU?
EDO. EDO is the people who recruit for Exxon.
Oh, they recruit for Exxon.
Yeah, I was with Seacoast for Amazon.
Okay.
I went with them to the US, even without a visa, to put up some things for the slumber jail.
Okay.
We could combat the thing in this all. And if I allow the...
Okay, but so yes, the question, let me go.
The question is, the government is asking everybody to be qualified. I am fully qualified and I can't find a job.
Okay. So let me quickly take you through a few things. And you're a lucky man, you might be the only man who went to the US without a visa.
Yeah,
so you're yes. So they're government contracts, and we've tried to put in place a simplified system. If you listen to one Ejil, who's the Minister of Public Works, Ejil, we have a system now where we're trying to get a lot of new contractors, but at a smaller level, to break into the tendering process. So we've simplified the tendering process up to about 5 million, just to give them a toehold. The problem is that the bids, most of the other bids above that level are competitive. But if you can set up your own company, then, and with all of this experience, you should be able to outcompete many of the others who have higher margins. So that's one. Two, because of the local content legislation that we passed last year, there is a greater requirement now, and you will see it happening going forward. That a lot of the skills that Exxon would bring in to operate in Guyana will now have to be replaced by Guyanese. So the local content legislation now mandates almost all of some of the services that they procure to be supplied only by Guyanese. So that is why we see even a recruitment company, I don't want to mention their name, that was recruiting from Exxon, is now trying to get a local to be part of their partners, because in the future they wouldn't be able to operate here if they don't partner with locals. So this has created a lot of opportunities. But let me get your name and the qualification, because I'm sure that a lot of people are looking for the type of skills you need. Maybe you just haven't been able to meet them. Okay?
Can I elaborate a bit?
No, not elaborate here. I want to listen to as many, so I take your name and number. Make sure we give them the name and number.
Very special good morning to you, Mr. Vice President.
Yes.
Honorable Minister, Agriculture, Minister of Foods. I want to welcome you all guys to bodies. And on my behalf, I'd like to speak concerning the job on Exxon. As my son is sitting here, he has certificate. When he apply, he do everything to get his license, whatever his certificate. Or when he apply, they say he's not qualified. So I want
Remember, you don't, Exxon often doesn't recruit directly.
Okay.
Exxon recruits through, as this gentleman is saying, through a provider. So they tender out their services. And then they have first-tier contractors who then provide the services to them. So often they don't recruit directly. This is a key thing. And now because the certification too, we have to look at the level of certification. So what I would urge you, both of you to do, there is a local content secretariat where people can be listed now as companies or individuals. They now need to go into that office, their names will be here and the requisite skill. So if the foreigners want to come and work here, and we have the skill in Guyana, they will not get the work permit to come. You understand?
Yes.
So let us follow up again with his name. I can then talk to the secretary. Give me the details here. But let me talk more. A lot of people who are outside of those who are recruited here. I want to hear from those who are recruited, because it seems as though there are other issues. We should meet with them separately. Anybody who wants to meet with them. Okay, yes. Give this young lady here. She'll be waiting.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah.
I'm attached to the Ministry of Culture and Sport, Ballard Smithfield, and I'm working with the St. Guyana Learning Park Bureau. We have 67 students there, but persons that work in there, they're volunteering the service. So we'd like to know if the persons who are part-time employed could attach to our center.
Yes, I think once it's useful for our country and our people, that's fine with us. We can attach some of the people there, okay? But they have to work and all. They just not go there and sleep all day and stuff like that. But they want to sleep, yes. So we should be able to attach. And the daycare places too, regional chairs, so we make sure that we see if we can help out and supplement some of these places. Okay.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
I have one basic question.
Yes.
Is the salary taxable? The $40,000.
Well, if you earn this, now you will fall below the tax threshold now. You will fall below the tax threshold because you have to earn much more than this to start being taxed. Okay? So you fall below the threshold. But you may have to pay a bit for the NIS from it because that is your only health and benefits in the future. Okay? So you're gonna have to pay a bit to the NIS, but you don't pay taxes. All right, somebody else. You got the chance already. Huh? Okay, all right. Oh, yes, there's a young lady behind you. Yes, the one behind you. I saw you switch seats. Yeah. Put the microphone.
I just like to ask one question because currently the ghost culture. We tried, you was kind of get on the way, but we want it. So you want to know if there's any other way to try to get it.
All right, so let me do something. I can send Professor Obede and his team to Burmese. Let them come and go across the region and meet with people. So we'll advertise and maybe right here you can come back for those students who are having difficulties. Okay? That is the secretariat. So we can do that. Let's get this settled first and then we'll work on that. Okay? But I'm surprised. Is there anyone from Gold here? Yeah, we come here. We should have gotten them to come out to Niger. Ensure that one of them comes to every one of the other meetings I have here. Call them and tell them to come, because then they can take people's names and follow up too.
Good day, Mr. Vice President.
Yes, good day.
My name is Ashley Sampson. I joined the Guyanese School in 2005 for one course. I was in place at the finance department, the Guyanese Defense Force. In 2006, on the 3rd of March, if you guys could recall, the Guyanese Defense Force lost a quantity of weapons. Now, I did not work that weekend. At the time, Colonel Algernon, the former advisor to the previous president, Edward Collins, and another Colonel A.Q. Gary Best. Now the Prime Minister of this country, I worked with. Those were the last people I worked with. Now, on the day when the weapons was being discovered lost, I was not working on that weekend. So at the time, Colonel Algernon, the woman in charge of the WAC Society, sent me home. Now, I've been home since 2006. I spoke with Mr. Harman. I spoke with people in the presidency during the Avenue government about my time at home not being paid. There's no SOS, there's no AWL, there is nothing. Until the last time that I went to the Guyanese Defense Force.
So they just sent you home like that without any discharge?
No discharge, nothing, no money, nothing, no finance.
All right. Okay, so what do you do? Give us your name. Look at Steve is sitting here. Ensure that we follow up, right? Look, he's sitting next to, at the head of the table here. Make sure that he gets your name.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I have a daughter going to Rajiv Gandhi Medical School. Since Jan asked for action help and never get none till now.
So what is, she's been going there and she's been paying to go there?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you want some help to continue?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's see what we can do. Just give them your name. Let's see if we can. Yeah. So, anyone who wants me to follow up on an issue, and we may not have the time to listen to everyone, so just ensure we get your name and number, and we have a unit at the office of the president that will call you to find out what the problem is, and then we can follow. So anyone who wants, yes, make sure that they take your name and number. You should do so too with your program. Just make sure he gets your name and number.
My name is Aria Henry.
Yeah.
My concern is the scheme that I'm living in, that's the housing scheme.
Yeah.
The scheme is The roads, the streets that are potholes, it's like car, river, and the street full of bushes.
Okay, let me tell you quickly, when we were here on the outreach, the biggest problem we found across the region was roads. People complained from Molson Creek all the way to Mara. They were complaining about the state of roads. So we went back to Georgetown. We said there was $4 billion in the budget for community roads this year. So we asked Minister Edghill to deploy a capability across Region 6. We are identifying 300 roads to be done this year in Berbice. And so we have started, many of them are footpaths, etc. They have deployed up till last night. He was in the region. He may come back tonight after the cabinet meeting, Minister Edghill. So I make sure that Glasgow is on that agenda too. Glasgow housing scheme.
Another problem is the street lights. Imagine I had a street light on that street. The street used to be very dark, and they put a street light, previous government put street lights in the field. The other day, I see a van, I don't know if it's GPS van or what one really. Imagine they go and take from the street light from the post.
Yes.
And leave the whole street in darkness. It's a violation against everybody to come and walk.
Yes. So we need everywhere we have a big problem with lights. No, if a light is up, nobody should take it down.
Exactly.
So that's the principle. If the light is up, don't take it down. But if you ask me now, whether we'll be putting in lights in all of these communities, now I would say to you honestly, no. We have a bigger struggle. To supply power and stable power across Guyana, we need generating sets. The generating sets that we're using now are the ones that we put in some 20 years ago. And so there was no new upgrade to the generating sets in the last few years. Amila Falls, the last government killed it. We should have started producing power by 2017. They killed that, but didn't replace it with fossil fuel generating sets. So right now we're supplying about 130 megawatts of power across the country. But our installed capacity is close to that. That is why we still have unstable power. We don't even have enough power to sometimes to power people's homes. I mentioned to you, I didn't want to go into detail. The way to fix this is this building of the 300 megawatt power plant bringing the gas onshore that will push down the cost of power but reliable power. When we have that amount of power, then we can put lights in every community and every road. But right now, you can't just be putting up lights and you don't have even power to put in people's homes. That is the situation we're in now because nobody, in 5-7 years, they killed a miner and then didn't do anything else. So let's go on. But make sure that I get your name too so we can follow up with you on the roads, okay? So it's the easiest thing to do, you know? People complain, the regional chair and the others go and pop up a light somewhere, and then they don't have power even to people's homes. Y'all doing that all around, we're creating problems.
Good morning, Mr. Vice President. I have two issues. First issue is that I applied for the government grant since 2012. I haven't gotten no response. The second issue is that about the remedial program.
Where did you apply? In Berbice?
Yes.
In Berbice. So, do we have anyone from housing here? Look across here. So we should examine our program, go across here and make sure they look at it. If there is a demand here in Berbice, we can do much more because we are building up. Everyone wants to go to Region 4. And so we're overloaded. We put in this year. That was another thing we promised that we are doing 50,000 house lots in the 5 years. So the last government did not do anything until the no confidence. And then after the no confidence, they distributed 1,400 lots. We were in London, the president went there and promised 1,000 houses we would build, not just lots. Houses for people in the area. They were opposed to it. We gave out 400 lots at Amelia's ward. We're putting in some money to upgrade the infrastructure. They got some people to try to block it. We managed to, Sherwin grades went down and we sorted it out. So in this year's budget, we have money to do about 30,000 house lots. So we now need to see, because there's such a big backlog, and we now need to move forward on the capital program. So if here in Berbice, we have a great demand, I'm sure we can do one of the housing schemes right here in Berbice to accommodate that. We should really map what the demand is in the region, do a survey, and geographically where it is. Say starting from Molson Creek all the way to Mara. See where and what numbers. So if the more numbers are on this end, we can probably do the housing scheme closer to this end, to the Amsterdam end. But make sure they get your name. And any issue. So we follow up on both issues. But I want to get the others. And anyone else, I only have to take, I can take 3 more because we have to go to another set of people that are being recruited today. 3 more. And then anyone who didn't get to speak, just give us your name and number, we'll contact you. Okay?
Good morning, Mr. Vice President.
Good morning.
I'm a community policing group chairman. Community policing, as you know, is voluntary. But since the cost of living in Guyana are going up, community policing group members have been asking for a stipend. Now, last year, I think it was January, I had a meeting at
Did you meet Minister Ben Rosenben? Minister Rosenben is the Minister of Home Affairs, so you should meet with him on these matters. Did he come?
I thought we did. They spoke about giving a stipend to CPG.
Who did?
The Minister and the Administrator. But until now, nothing about
Okay, so you said Robeson. Talk about. Let us get your name there. Okay? Name and number. And we'll follow up. Because if the minister says that, then they will help.
So guys, you are hearing a follow-up outreach from
Yes.
Vice
One
President
more here
Jagdeo.
and then one after that. Yes, please.
And
just a minute.
the intention was to create jobs for persons who very much need them at this time. And a large turnout from residents of New Amsterdam and surrounding areas. Lots of people here. Lots of people here. Vice President Jagdeo is presently listening to persons' issues, and you would have heard it live on the Guyanese Critic.